Okay, hello. Welcome back to another video. Today I am not playing e4, not playing d4, not playing c4 either. I'm playing g4, the Grub. Now, this is arguably one of the worst openings in chess, but bishop g2 here, it's called the Grub. I think it's named after Henry Grub. But yeah, I have a mate that played it, and so I somehow know some of the theory. I'm actually quite ashamed of that, but I think knight f6 here actually presents an opportunity to play g5. So I'm going to go for that straight away. I think this is called the spike attack, or something very similar. Perhaps this is an extra move into the spike attack. But look, the knight goes back to g8, which is very interesting, actually. If it came to e4, we'd probably have played d3 to attack it and hold this pawn. Not sure, but I don't know. This g-pawn, absolutely dominating, claiming a lot of space, and we surely have an alright position. So let's try and do something interesting. We're obviously going to want to castle queenside. So I'm thinking I want to play something like d3, maybe d4. I quite like d3. Not exactly sure why. Maybe at some point I want to play e4, and this is going to be helpful in doing so. Whenever you push a pawn, you can't bring it back. So just always be careful that you're not making very committal moves for no reason. I'm sure d4 would have been as good, if not better, but I don't know. I think I'll go knight c3 here. If d4, we can always jump into here, and we see a very interesting sort of, almost like a Slav setup, or a semi-Slav, against, a Grub. So, yeah, this is very interesting. Okay, this pawn's held. This pawn is definitely held. I think we're better here somehow. I mean, look, black's moved none of their pieces. Oh, I forgot this is blitz. I have, no time. Okay. In that case, should I just start pushing pawns and hope for the best? Let's go. f4. I'm going to put the knight behind the pawn, because I want to develop this knight, but also I want to push these pawns, because we're going to be castling queenside, so we can get away with doing some, we might as well make use of the fact that we played g4, g5. Now e4 looks quite nice to hold the knight out of here. Sort of justifying why I played d3. e4 takes, queen takes, knight takes. Don't really want to trade the queens. So let's just play a pretty calm bishop d2, so that actually I can play e4 without this idea of trading the queens. I'd quite like to keep the queens on the board, because I'm seeing some idea of queen g4 at some point, and just something very cool. Oh, you know what? I'm just going to play h4. There's no way I'm not going to play h4 here. I'm just going to go for h5. There we go. Now, where are you putting your knight? Aha. Takes? No, because then takes and we lose. Okay, nice. So we have to recapture now. If we take here, this pawn hangs. So, very much not ideal stuff. But I'm going to take here and actually say, you know what? Your knight is now forced back to e7 or f8. Almost certainly my opponent plays knight e7. My king can go to d2. I'm happy with that. You know what? I don't mind that. I do need to work out a way to move this queen. Let's just play knight f3. Let's just develop pieces mindlessly. Because, let's be honest, black's done nothing. And if you castle kingside here, you are signing your death note. Because I just can... I mean, what, g6? Surely. We just break all this open. Okay. Maybe knight e5 looks kind of nice. I don't really know what to do, I'll be honest. Here takes. But then where is our king going? Oh, I have such limited time. This may be a humongous L. You know what? Let's put the knight here. This looks like an outpost to me. Because even though it can be kicked with f6, we've got a pawn on g5, as is, as happens when you play g4, g5. within the first 3 moves of the game. And so it's going to be very, very hard for black to actually remove this knight from here. Okay, they bring the queen in. Now if I go here, if we see takes, it's probably not horrible. Should I go here? E4? Just play e4. I mean, you know, the lovely thing with chess is that you can just play e4 in this position. And, you know, who's going to tell you that you're wrong? Probably the engine after the game, but that doesn't matter. What's going on? I really have no idea what's going on. Let's play queen g4. Get the queen involved somehow. All my pieces look really nice. And I still have 8 pawns on the board. So does my opponent. Trying to remove this knight. Okay. Is this where we just sack a knight and trust the process? Oh, it'd be so funny. You know what? Let's do it. Sack a knight. Trust the process. That is the moral of the story. Takes here. Then we go takes and actually win a rook. So I don't know what you really do here. Probably just move the king back somewhere. But if here I can go hit... Wait a second, was that knight sack actually good? If the king goes here, we can just... Okay, but now I just take here. And we're going to have check. And taking on here and taking this and going everywhere. We'll go check. King's going to come up, probably. We'll go check. If it comes up, we can go check. Okay, no. We'll go here, threaten to take the rook. Keep pressure on the knight here now that we've removed the g7 pawn. I've just realised I have absolutely no time. I mean, this position is almost certainly winning. Maybe the knight sack was actually the best move, but I don't see what my opponent plays here, because you can't play rook f8 to hold this knight. So basically, the job now is checkmate my opponent before 27 seconds is up for me. Take a sip of my Prince's Gate water. Sponsor me. Shout out. Chunks. I know he needs the recognition from my 581 subscriber channel. Let's take this. Let's take this. We're going to promote here. 100% of the time we promote. Here and here. Let's go. This is massive. I just need to make very quick moves. I got a bishop pair somehow. I mean, you can't really move anything. Okay, my default plan, whenever you've got no time left and your opponent's thinking, you got to formulate a sort of game plan. So I think takes here, unless something drastically different happens. But you can't really attack my queen. Because, let's push. Whoa, I could have taken, but actually I like pushing. I probably should have taken with bishop. The reason I like pushing is because the queening square is then supported by the rook. And by the queen. So a rook can't just go in here to block queening. There's no castling because the king's moved. The king's supposed to be on e8. Okay. We're going to promote. This is huge. Whoa. What's going on? Oh my days. Did my opponent just play some brilliancy? Whoa. Whoa, 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 whoa. Here. Let's get the bishop on here. It's absolute pre-move fest right now. Just going to have to... Oh my days, that's big. That's so big. That is so huge. Check. Here. Oh, my opponent blundering like that is just so helpful. Okay. Just making safe pre-moves. Oh no, that was an awful pre-move. Keeping the pieces tied together. Oh my days. 3.3 seconds. I should be able to do this. Okay, so here we are in the analysis. We play the Grub because we're playing Blitz and no one cares about Blitz. D5 here, Bishop G2, awesome, best move. Then Knight F6, my opponent gives me back the advantage by not accepting my Grub. Immediately we play G5, the best move, going for this very thematic Grub idea with when Knight F6 occurs to actually use the pawn to play G5. And we saw that actually gained us a lot of space in the end. The knight went back and I played D3. It did want me to go for D4. I knew I should push this D pawn, but I was sort of a fan of keeping it a little more solid and maybe having E4 on the cards later. I don't think, you know, D3 is too disastrous. And then C6, which is a good move to sort of dead off this bishop. Knight to C3 here, fine. E6, again, not the best. H6 was actually best because you want to sort out this G5 pawn. It's too strong. But then F4, good move. E7, again, the computer actually wants me to play E4, which I probably should have done earlier. I just didn't want to trade the queens because I want it to be a bit exciting, which it proved to be. And then Knight G6, and I immediately played H4, the best move here, saying to this knight, what are you doing hopping into G6 here? I'm going to kick you straight back out with tempo and expand on the queen side. So yeah, the bishop comes out, simply push it, and after takes, the knight drops back. I developed my knight, my opponent develops his knight to A6, then I went for knight E5, and the average Sensi pawn loss in this game from me was only 19, which is probably due to a lot of easy best moves at the end. However, this knight was very nice here. E4 now, finally. And yeah, the engine wants F6, but it is very hard to play that when you've got takes, and sort of opening up this diagonal to the king. The king then sort of resigns itself to never castling kingside. And so yeah, I don't know. That was my rationale in putting the knight there anyway. Now queen G4, I just wanted to get my queen out and somehow involved. I should have pushed this, very interestingly. And if takes, I think then there's just never an opportunity for F6. Sorry, not if takes. If G6, then you can never play F6 because I'll just take. So that would have been interesting. But then the knight drops back, and I just sacked a knight because I thought, you know what? Let's make it interesting. It's the Blitz. I've played the Grub. We're not looking for best moves here. My opponent takes. I went G6, and oh, there's King G8. I don't know why I thought they couldn't take here. If takes. Oh my days, there's knight takes. Okay, in this position, 100% of the time I would have sacked my queen. Wouldn't have been good, but I'd have done it. But yeah, okay, that's kind of interesting. My opponent was scared of this. I thought this looked pretty good for me. I mean, after G6, it's still relatively even on the eval. But after the king steps back, I then played queen takes. The knight comes to here, and then I go check. So actually, the only way to really escape this was to take this pawn and resolve that tension. And after pawn takes, playing knight takes here. Because actually realizing that the knight held the rook backwards was pretty, I don't know, that's pretty hard to see, I feel. But then yeah, coming in with the queen, now all of a sudden massive advantage. Take on G7, forking these two pieces here. Rook comes in, take here. Pawn takes, bishop takes, and this is the point where I had about, oh yeah, it says at the bottom here, 25 seconds left. So here I'm just trying to make relatively quick moves, so probably not the best ones. Just exchanging stuff off. I had less than 20 seconds in this position. Then promoted. He played a very good move with this knight check. Moved the king across. Takes. And after trading the queens, I then had less than 10 seconds. Now, I played c4, bishop c3. And my opponent made it very, very easy for me here by giving me a lovely bit of rook h8. Still proved a little challenging to convert, given that I had 8.7 seconds left. But it would have been certainly much harder if my opponent hadn't done that. But I went check, the king moved, I gave another check, just because they were safe pre-moves. Took all of this, and then, you know, I'm pre-moving basically whatever I can at this point. Getting the bishop in this lovely position here where these are sort of symbiotic in the sense that the pawn holds the bishop and the bishop holds the pawn. The bishop holds this pawn as well, and there are no B or D pawns. So effectively, these two pawns are completely frozen because you just can't push them, and the king can't take any of these pieces. So I've just created this structure here that, you just can't do anything about, and I can go around with my rook and mop everything up like I did. So takes, coming in behind here, bring the king in. Took far too long on this move here. That was like 2 full seconds. Bring the king in further, give a little check, and then bring the rook down here. King goes up, so I take this pawn, and then what I thought is, okay, I'm just going to use this sort of concrete bishop. It was checkmate in 8, but there was no way I'm finding that because 3.3 seconds left. So check, check, take the pawn. Now there is no chance whatsoever that I lose this game. It is a draw in worst case scenario, so that's very important. Clean up all the pawns, and then if you can mate, that's going to be useful, obviously. Then check, check, and now the bishop holds the rook. The rook is never letting you get past here, and so I'm free to just make these 4 moves to promote to a queen, as I do, within 0.5 seconds, making all 4 of those moves because you can just pre-move it. And then it's a simple matter of, as the king moves down, best move, queen b8, and then checkmate here with the ladder. There's nowhere else for the king to go. It could have gone up to a4, but same thing with the ladder mate. However, in the game, my opponent decided to take the final bit of, compensation, if you can call it that, with the pawn on a2, and then, yeah, checkmate. So, yeah, pretty entertaining game. When I play blitz, it's not going to be, trying to play high accuracy games. It's going to be, let's have some fun, because it's blitz. I don't take blitz anywhere near as seriously as I take rapid chess. So, yeah, hopefully you enjoyed that. If you did, let me know in the comments. If you're new, really appreciate a sub. I think yesterday we gained like 6 subscribers, which is really cool. Always love when that happens, It's just immediately a good day when the subs are rising. But yeah, really close to 600, actually 581, I believe, as of recording. Hopefully it will not be less by the time you see this video. But yeah, thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.